Okay, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get our meeting started today. Welcome to the Rocky Mountain NetSuite User Group. I am Corey Anderson, and I'll be the host of the meeting today. Here is our agenda. For about 15 minutes here, we're going to have our welcome and our general business, and then we'll have an opportunity for member announcements. We do this so that you have the ability to make an announcement, such as a job posting, or anything, jobs related to NetSuite or NetSuite adjacent. So we will have a moment for that, and then we also have the opportunity you can post those announcements in our LinkedIn forum, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. After that, we'll hear from our meeting sponsor, Corpay, our Suite App sponsor today, and then our main presentation from 9 to 11, that'll be presented by Dana Larson. And then from 11 to 11:30 or so, we'll have our open forum after the main presentation. The open forum is a chance for you to ask a question. It doesn't have to be related to today's topic. It can be anything NetSuite related, any challenges that you're having. And as a group, we'll be here to support each other and help answer questions or give ideas and stuff like that. Membership to the user group is free. You register at www.rmnsug.org. Once you register, it ensures that you get notifications of upcoming meetings and events. You also have ability to go to our LinkedIn form and sign up to be a member there. So if you are not a member, please go ahead and sign up today. Where to find us? We have a few different places. Our website that I just mentioned, rmnsug.org. We also have a YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel there. You can just go to YouTube and search RMNSUG or Rocky Mountain NetSuite User Group. It should pop up as well. We post all of our meetings, all of the recordings of the meetings on YouTube, but we also do it on our website. And when we post them on our website, we also post the slides from the meetings as well. So you can go back and review those meetings and slides at any point in the future. We have a LinkedIn forum. There's the URL for the LinkedIn forum there. I will post that in the chat window towards the end of this section of the meeting. And if you haven't been to our LinkedIn forum, you can go there and request to become a member. We do, as I mentioned, record and post all of our previous meetings. You can find those on our website, and it's rmnsug.org/posts. I'm actually just going to jump over there real quick just to give you a quick demonstration. So here's our website. We always have our upcoming meetings listed here. Our meeting recordings are under posts. And if you have any topic that you want to see if we've presented on in the past, you can search in this little search bar here. And most likely we've probably presented on it if it's a topic that you're interested in. So you can do a search there. You can also go through all of our archives. We've been recording and posting meetings for quite some time now. So everything that we have is on our website. Our LinkedIn forum here, this is the URL. Like I said, I'll paste that again, or you can just search for our Rocky Mountain NetSuite User Group on LinkedIn. And that gives you the ability to post job openings, ask questions, follow up from topics from the meetings, and all of that kind of stuff. So please go ahead and check that out. All right. There's our LinkedIn forum. I showed you in person instead. So I'll take a quick moment to introduce the board. We are volunteers for the Rocky Mountain NetSuite User Group, and we work behind the scenes to maintain the user group and bring you the content and the in-person meetings that we do. So that's me in the upper left-hand corner. I'm Corey Anderson of Stratos ERP Partners. Then we have our sponsorship and member chair, Margie Cominos of PlantScan Corporation. We have our communications chair, Mike Kackline of Vertafore. Our speaker chair, Peggy Evleth of RSM US. Our treasurer, Dana Larson of Dana Larson Consulting, who will also be presenting today. And then our newest board member is our events chair, Ryan Longnecker of Collective Mind Technologies. So thank you to the board and everything that you do to continue supporting this user group and make sure we keep running now and well into the future. So here's the moment where we can I'll just take a break here. And if you want to make an announcement, feel free to unmute yourself and make that announcement. You can post them in the chat window as well. or you could go to the LinkedIn forum and post any announcements there. No requirement to make that announcement here, but I'll just pause for a moment if anybody wants to unmute themselves and make an announcement. So it could be job openings or looking for a NetSuite related job or an accounting related job, anything like that. All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on if nobody wants to make an announcement right now. And again, you can post them in the chat window or you can go to our LinkedIn group and post there. So we do send out evaluations and we do read and act on those evaluations. So please take a moment to let us know how we're doing. You'll get an email at the end of, I think it's later today at some point, and it's just a few questions. If you answer those, and it helps us plan future content, lets us know how we're doing. It gives you a chance to give feedback to the speaker of the day, and we do read and act on those. So please just take a few moments to fill out those evaluations. It's very helpful for us. So meeting sponsorship, as I mentioned, membership to the user group is free. The cost of our meetings is supported by 2 levels of sponsorship. We have SuiteApp sponsors and consulting sponsors. SuiteApp sponsors must be available through suiteapp.com, and our consulting sponsors must offer NetSuite consulting services and have certified NetSuite consultants on staff. If you or your company is interested in sponsoring, you can learn more. Go to rmnsug.org/sponsorship, and there's all the details there of how to become a sponsor. So CPE credits, we do offer CPE credits for all of our meetings. Thank you to RSM. So there will be polling questions throughout the meeting today that you must answer to be eligible for the credits. You must have also registered for the Zoom meeting with your first name, last name, and email address. Please make sure that your Zoom app is up to date for the polling question pop-ups. From time to time, we get messages during the meeting that the pop-up isn't popping up for somebody. So just make sure that your Zoom app is up to date and you should get those pop-ups no problem. CPE credits take 4 to 6 weeks to issue, so please be patient. As I mentioned, we are volunteers. Peggy is a volunteer, and she has to go through the CPE process at RSM to get all of those credits put together and sent out to everybody. So thank you to Peggy and RSM for sponsoring the CPE credits. We think it's an incredibly valuable addition and offering for our user group meetings. So save the date. We have our next networking event. We have a date and time reserved and planned. It will be August 14th. I believe that's a Thursday. Yep, that's a Thursday. Be from 5 to 8 p.m. It's going to be in the Thornton area. Last time we were down south, so now we're going to be up a little bit further north. Hopefully get some other folks from the northern areas to come down to Thornton. The invites are going to be coming soon. I'm not going to tell you what the event space is right now, but it's going to be a lot of fun. The last time we did the in-person event was our NetSuite trivia night, and it was very popular. I think it was a lot of fun. We're going to do something also really fun, kind of some games and stuff like that. So keep an eye out for those invites and make sure you sign up for that networking event. Anybody that is part of our community is welcome to come to our events. So our upcoming meetings, this is looks like about the next year or so of content. We have September this year will be our inventory management meeting. In November, we will have our native NetSuite budgeting versus NSPB, which is NetSuite planning and budgeting, which is their upgrade of budgeting functionality. So that we haven't done that content before. I'm excited for that one. It should be a good one. In January, we always do reporting, and the reporting could be native reports, could be saved searches, Suite Analytics workbooks, NSAW. There's a lot of different things that we do there, but we do something around that every January. So that'll be next January reporting. Not sure what our March meeting is going to be yet. We do take the feedback from the evaluations for future content. And so we have a couple of slots throughout the year where we put in meeting content that we haven't done before. So please, again, fill out those evaluations with content that you're interested in. And then next May will be our workflow meeting. So thank you to our consulting sponsor for the day. Our consulting sponsor is Strategic Information Group. So built for what's next with NetSuite, Strategic Information Group is a trusted NetSuite solution provider, helping companies get the most out of their NetSuite investment. We support clients through every step of the journey, from first-time implementation to ongoing optimization. Our customer care plans have helped hundreds of teams adopt and optimize NetSuite with confidence. Our powerful extensions improve AR and AP, streamline subscription billing, and simplify asset and inventory management. We also partner with leading MES and WMS providers to create end-to-end solutions that grow with you. Whether you're just getting started or fine-tuning a mature setup, Strategic is here to help you move faster, work smarter, and stay ahead. So thank you again to Strategic for being our consulting sponsor for the day. We will have a raffle for Strategic, and we'll post that here in the meeting chat in just a few minutes. So our other sponsor for the day is Dana Larson. So Dana is going to be doing our main content today, and so that's her sponsorship. I'll tell you a little bit about Dana. So Dana Larson has been working with NetSuite since 2007 when she purchased NetSuite for the nonprofit where she worked. She's been a member of the user group since 2009 and on the board since 2014. She likes to help her clients get the most out of their NetSuite investment and helps at all stages of the NetSuite lifecycle: implementation, optimization, re-implementation, and integration of newly acquired companies. She's also an outsourced administrator for companies that are small enough that they don't require their own full-time admin, which allows them to have better controls. And I also want to mention that Dana has a phone a friend support, and I've definitely phoned her several times over the years for support in areas that I don't have the expertise in. And so that's geared towards other consultants as well. So thank you, Dana, for taking the time to prepare your presentation and do your presentation today, which is sponsoring the user group. So at this point, I'd also like to say thank you to our Suite App sponsor of the day, Corpay. And so right now I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Scott from Corpay, who is going to tell you about Corpay for about 10 minutes or so. And after that, we'll get into our main meeting content. So Ryan, I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Corey. Let me just bring my screen back up here. All right, you guys all see this okay?
It's coming up now. There we go. Looks good.
Perfect. Thanks so much for having us, guys. This is our first time sponsoring the Rocky Mountain NetSuite user group. I actually live in Portland, Maine, and I happen to be out west right now at our Portland, Oregon office. My name is Ryan Scott. I oversee all of our NetSuite ecosystem partnerships, including the partnerships that we have with the user groups like this one. Excited to be here and tell you a little bit more about Corpay. We are also doing a raffle. I just saw Caleb post something in the chat. I'll make sure we get our link in there as well. We're giving away a Yeti cooler today. So a little bit about Corpay. Corpay is a global leader in business payments and AP automation. We're a built for NetSuite solution. So we're listed on the Suite app that Corey had referenced earlier. And I would just say, outside of Corpay, just anytime anyone is considering a third-party solution that needs to integrate with NetSuite, make sure you're looking at Suite app. The NetSuite does a really, really good job of verifying integrations that partners have built. So twice a year, whenever there's a NetSuite release, we go through what those updates look like on the NetSuite side and how that could potentially impact our integration to ensure that data continues to flow seamlessly between the two solutions. So we are on there and we have that built for NetSuite certification. So what is AP automation? This is a question we get all the time. People come to our booth at SuiteWorld and they say, well, everyone says they're doing AP automation. Like, what does that mean exactly? Well, the short answer is it's really a lot of things. And these are all areas where
Did we
Corpay
lose
can.
Ryan's audio?
No, I'm
Can
still
you hear me?
hearing him.
I can still hear.
Corey, can you hear me?
Okay.
Dana, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Keep going. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, the short answer is it's a lot of things, right? And sometimes companies will come to us, they'll come up to our booth at Sweet World and they'll say, we need help with invoice intake. We're drowning in invoices. It's taking way too long to get them all into NetSuite. And that's a common problem, right? Or maybe it's the payment processing, the execution of the payments, or the servicing of the payments after the payment's been made. All of these things are reasons why people, manual processes within their AP process that they come to a company like Corpay to get help with. Corpay is a little bit unique that we do all of this stuff. But what we're really good at is the payment side of it. So we're going to focus a lot on that today. There's a lot of companies out there that have software that can help with the invoice intake process, including NetSuite, right? Like NetSuite Bill Capture has made some improvements. I don't know if anyone's looked at that. What's unique about Corpay is we are more than happy if you're able to use NetSuite Bill Capture to get the invoice ingestion piece handled. You can still partner with Corpay on the payment side. And I hope after a few more slides, that'll make a little more sense. So related to payments, here are some of the pain points that keep CFOs up at night, right? When they have AP clerks executing and servicing large sums of money, large payments to their vendors. They're worried about outside fraudsters. They're worried about inflation, changing interest rates, all of these different factors that could potentially be leaving money on the table or even worse, money going out the door to a false vendor or the wrong person. So that's where we can really help, right? Our solution is truly a full service payments solution. And what I mean by that, if we look at the next slide, is this is what a normal AP process looks like, right? 60% of an AP clerk's time is spent, getting those invoices into NetSuite, right? They're separating all those payments out by the different payment types. In a lot of cases, they're still printing checks, they're signing checks, they're mailing checks. There's a lot of steps just to execute the payment. And then 26% of that time, of their time, is also spent servicing inquiries related to those payments, right? If a vendor doesn't seem to be able to track down a check that was sent, calling that AP person to say, are you sure? Can you send me the remittance data? All of that type of stuff takes another 26% of the time. And in that red area, that's where Corpay is very different, right? We have in-house teams that handle all of that stuff. So it's not just providing software that can help with the stuff on the left. It's a team or an engine behind the solution that's actually working with your vendors and helping them track down payments, reconcile payment data, anything that a vendor may need as it relates to payments. It also comes with more risk, right? Like companies that are paying vendors on their own are potentially leaving themselves at risk for fraudulent invoices, right? If they receive a fraudulent invoice, it looks real. And by the way, this stuff's getting a lot better with the use of AI to create invoices that look very real. Fraudsters are getting their hands on a real invoice and they're able to mock something up that looks very similar, and they're just sending it out in masses and hoping that something lands and that they can get someone to send the money. About 80% of businesses I think this is 2024. Yeah, about 80% of businesses reported either an attempt or an actual fraudulent payment. And the median value of those losses is about $117,000. So we're not talking about small amounts of money that we're putting at risk here. And this is what a current payment mix looks like for an average mid-market NetSuite customer today, right? They're doing about, they might be doing about half of their payments via ACH. And then close to half, most of the other half is still paper checks for a lot of companies. And then a lot of times they're just using card for like expense, like travel and entertainment. So they're not really maximizing the rebate that they're getting out of their card program. What we like to do at Corpay is take a look at your vendor list, your current vendors. We're not asking you to change vendors, matching it up against Corpay's database and saying, okay, based on all of these other customers that we have, we know that we can pay this percentage of your vendors with a virtual MasterCard, some more secure way to pay the vendor. Oh, and by the way, you're going to get a rebate on that. So we're able to usually, on average, 3x that rebate over a 5-year period. And I say 5-year period because we also do continuous vendor enrollment. So out of the gate, we might be able to double that and find vendors that are low-hanging fruit that we already know accept card. We also have a vendor enrollment team who can work with your team to that they would like to convert to card, and then reach out to them with calls and email campaigns to try to convert those payment modalities. So to take that other slide I showed you just a kind of a layer deeper, again, the top line is kind of what a manual process looks like for a lot of companies today. This is what we typically see. We went through that. The second row here is what a lot of our competitors offer. We kind of bundle them all up and call them bill pay solutions. So in other words, they're providing software that helps with the front end process of getting that payment executed. But that red area, it's still the same scenario as doing it manually, right? Because if they're using the software to execute the payment, but then if a payment is misapplied or you need help with that, they're still the company, your AP person is still fielding those vendor inquiries and having to track that stuff down. So that's that 26% of time that we had talked about on the previous slide. That's stuff that Corpay can help with. So it's very different. There's a lot of companies out there claiming that they do AP automation. We feel we're very, very different because of the team that we have behind the solution. And then just a little bit about Corpay. By the numbers, we're the #1 issuer of commercial MasterCards in North America. We pay out over $800 million in rebate annually to our customers. We've got over 600,000 card accepting vendors in our network today. So again, going back to kind of how we like to work with customers and prospects, it's taking a look at your vendors, matching it up against those vendors that are already in our network, and we can instantly kind of give you like an ROI analysis on which vendors are likely to accept card, and then we can start that process of enrolling them. I know I'm just about at time, so just to wrap up or summarize, there's really 3 areas where Corpay helps, right? It's maximize efficiency, which is kind of the software side of things. It's minimize risk. We talked about, the fraud potential of invoices and paying phony vendors. And then it's savings, right? It's converting as many of those vendors to a virtual MasterCard as possible, putting rebate or cash back into your business. And that was all I had. Corey, did the link to our raffle get put in the chat?
Yep, I
already?
put the raffle link in there, and so if you haven't had a chance to go click on that, folks, go ahead and click on that Corpay raffle. Thanks again, Corpay, for sponsoring. Thanks, Ryan, for presenting, and we'll repost that raffle a couple times throughout the meeting. At this point, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Dana Larson for our accounting spotlight meeting.
Great. Thanks, Corey. And can you see my slide?
Yep, I can see your slide and hear you just fine.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy that you could make it today. And we'll be going over it's just a mix of accounting stuff. And so some of it you've seen before. If you were here 2 years ago, we do the accounting spotlight every other year. I try to update it, add a few new things in every time, but a lot of it's just the basic stuff that we cover. And there is so much material that I do encourage you later. If I want to tell you what's out there, I'll show you what I can, but it might trigger a memory later. You'll say, wait, she said something about bank recs. So Corey showed you how to go out to the postings, and my PowerPoint will be out there, and also the recording. So hopefully that'll help you later if you need to come back and review what we've covered. So like I said, there's a lot going on. The other there. Okay. During the presentation, feel free to throw some questions in the chat. I probably won't be monitoring that just because it's very distracting to me. And so I'm going to just keep going, but Corey will interrupt if it's a question that we should cover right at that moment, or people can answer on the chat. Feel free to jump in with your answers on the chat. It takes a village here for all of us to learn NetSuite. I will try to pause at certain points, and then of course we'll have the breaks where we have 8 different questions for the CPEs. So there'll be that time as well. And maybe when we're doing those, I can glance at the questions. At the end, we'll definitely open it up. So please keep those questions coming, because I think it's more interesting to answer the questions and move through it that way. But we'll do our best to cover all of your questions. All right. I'm having trouble with there we go. So here's the agenda. There's just a lot. I'm not going to read through it all, but we're going to be hitting all of these topics. All right, we're going to start with the chart of accounts, which is like basic building block of NetSuite. Just as a reminder, when you're setting up your chart, bank and credit card accounts can only apply to one subsidiary. And then once you set up an account with an account type, you can't change it. I do get that question a lot where someone will say, well, we used to have this as an expense, now we need it other expense or something like that. You can't move it, but you can. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can make the old one inactive and then do monthly journals historically to move to the new account so that you've got that historical move. You don't have to move every transaction. You would have to open up the periods to do that. You could also change your custom layout in your financial statement to move that historical account to a different section. You can also you could also make one. Well, this is if they're the same. These last 2 ones, if they're the same account type, you could merge it. Bank accounts that are merged will unreconcile everything though, so be careful with that. And when you merge accounts, it can't be undone. So it's something that will last forever. And that merges in the drop-down actions, the actions drop-down. I see I got a typo there. And if the other way to do it, if you don't want to merge it, you could make one account a sub-account of another account and then make it inactive, because then it would roll up historically. And I've done that quite a bit just because we don't want to move balances. We don't want to merge the accounts, but we don't want to use that account anymore. But historically, if we're doing year over year, we want to see that number. So you could do it that way by making it a sub account, and then it would roll up. Account registers in NetSuite, you can go to the list accounting accounts and click on the name, don't click edit or view, but on the name. And then it'll show you this register. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that over. So I'm in the chart of accounts here. And if I just click on the name, you'll notice that it goes to the register. And this can be helpful for, especially if you're trying to figure out a reconciliation, like what reconciliation did that particular transaction show up on? Let's say you see that transaction on a future reconciliation and it's not, or on a future bank statement and it's not there for you to reconcile. If you come out here, you'll see when it was reconciled. You can also clear transactions on a daily basis if you check this yes box here. If you wanted to do daily reconciliations or daily clearing of transactions, you could do it here. And then later, when you're doing your reconciliation, they will show that they're cleared. And you can just say mark all cleared to reconciled. And so it's a shortcut for that. You can do this in one line so that you can see everything tighter on the page, or you can flip it back to 2 lines. You can also say only show me the uncleared. So if you're doing those daily reconciliations, that's a way to just see what's coming through. And I shouldn't say daily reconciliations, but daily clearing of transactions to show what's come through. And so this register can help. You can also, in your set preferences, you can tell the system what account is your the account that you go to most often. Let's say that you have 5 bank accounts, but when you go to the register, you want to go to this default bank account. So that's just a quick way to go there directly. Sorry, I'm going to try to move this out of the way. All right. So we went through all of this. You can find, which is also helpful, down at the bottom of that screen, there was a find. Be sure to use commas if it's over $999. Otherwise, it won't find the number. It's very literal. And so, yep, we talked about reconciliations. Okay, we already have our first question. So Corey, if you want to put that one in there.
Okay, hang on just 1 second.
That came fast, huh? You weren't
It
ready.
did. Yeah, all right. So here's our first polling question. We'll leave it up for about a minute or so. If you're interested in CPE credits, please make sure you answer the poll. And then Dana, you'll have the answer afterwards, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope so. I better pull that file up. Make sure I don't steer you guys wrong.
So CPE question number 1 is up. We have about 20 seconds left to answer. So last chance for the CPE question number 1. Going once, going twice. All right, I'm going to end the poll here.
All right. Well, the official answer is C. All reconciliations are cleared. We mentioned that. But as I look at this, I think that merged account, well, no, D isn't technically right because the merged account goes away. It's not that it's out there inactive. It actually just goes away. So some of these questions I'm going to admit, I probably shouldn't admit, but I ran it through ChatGPT to get them. So I'm not going to lie. We're volunteers. So anyway, all right. Next, journal entries. Again, kind of the basics of NetSuite and accounting in general. Note that journals can go through an approval process in NetSuite, but when you do that, they won't post to the GL until they've been approved. So make sure that that you know that when you're looking at your books, and also you can set up. There's multiple ways for journals to go through approvals, and so I'm not going to go into that today. But if you want to turn on journal approval, then maybe we should cover that sometime, Corey, in a topic I never thought about. If we've done an approvals one, we probably have at some point. And then you can copy journals, memorize them. We'll talk about memorizing later. You can import journals using a Save CSV or a single journal import. and print them, and you can do statistical journals. So I want to show you just a couple things on that. If I pull up a journal, I've got one up right here. Make this bigger. I wanted to show you a couple things. There's this GL impact down here that shows you your GL impact of that transaction, which NetSuite put it down here fairly recently, which I thought was helpful. Although every once in a while you're going to see a transaction that doesn't have that. Keep in mind it's still up here under this GL impact. And when you do the one up under the actions, you can actually export it to Excel. And the other one you can't. And this one is super helpful if you're trying to export a journal because you want to make, let's say it's a big journal and you want to make some changes on it. You export the journal to Excel, you can make your changes, and then you can re-import it and replace the lines of the journal. So you're basically fixing that journal by doing it that way. Or if you just want to have an Excel version of the journal, this is a great way to get it. So we'll say return to the journal over here. We'll take you back to the journal. You can also print a journal as a PDF right here if you wanted to prove something about, historically what you had in that journal, or print the GL impact. But again, those are PDFs. So, but they can be really helpful. So to copy a journal, you can click this make copy. I'm not sure if that make copy button is always there. I just noticed it. I usually go into the edit mode and then under the actions do it. So that might be a form change that was done for this one. Same with memorize. It looks like somebody customized the form. This is a test environment that I'm not very familiar with. And so it looks like they took it off the actions drop down and put it there. So, and I could be wrong. Maybe the more recent releases have it that way all the time. So, when you copy a journal, you just have to remember to update the date so that, because it's, then you're, putting in the new one. Also, if you have a file attached, this is a great place to attach backup for a journal. So that later, if someone asks you, why did you do this journal, which is what auditors like to do, you've got the backup in there. Note that if you copy a journal, it will copy the backup also. So that's a little tricky if, for example, it's a different month and you have different backups, you'll have to go in and remove the backup and attach the new one. In this environment, we don't have the drag and drop up here. This is where you would say new file and you would attach your transaction. We have done some tips and tricks on drag and drop if you want to look in our posts about it. It's an add-on, a free add-on where you get a little box up here and you just drag the file into that box. It's a little bit faster than this. So keep that in mind. Let's see, what else do we have on journals? Oh, importing them. So there's an interesting, I think, if we do transactions, financial, make journal entry, or make intercompany, notice this little import right here. That's different. It works like a CSV import, but it's saying I'm just going to import a single transaction. And so, and you can't save your mapping. So just keep that in mind if you're using this upload. But it's great if you've just got one journal you want to import. Here's the file. So if you click on this, it's going to give you the CSV file for it, which tells you what you need to know about. Let me pull that over. So it's got the account, debit, credit, memo, entity, department, class, location. And so you fill in your rows and then you can just import that journal. So this is great. One thing, if you put in your account number, you have to have it. It has to be the number and then the name. But one thing to note when you're doing your import, if I were to select a file, I'm going to do that over here. I've got 1 second. You can here we go. I've got a test CSV out there. So you are able to change it on the import to say, instead of, I'm not going to give you my my account number, I'm going to give you the external ID of the account or internal ID. So just so you know, you don't have to try to get it perfect on the account numbers. You could just go directly to the external ID. Same with any of these. You can say, I'm going to send you the internal ID of the department instead of the department name. And that's especially helpful when you have a hierarchy and it's really hard to get your hierarchy correct for this import. That can be useful. Imagine if you had a journal that you had to enter every month and just a few numbers changed on it. You could just use the same Excel file and use this feature. Let's see. Oh, and statistical journals. I'm just going to talk about this one. In NetSuite, you can have a statistical account which doesn't post to your GL the same way. It's not dollars. You could say something like square footage by department, and you could have that statistic out there, and then you use that for allocating your rent. And so you can do a journal entry every month to say, or head count, for example, maybe your head count changes monthly. You can do a statistical journal to update your head count. We're not going to go into allocations today. We have in the past, and the statistical journals can be really helpful for allocations. Advanced intercompany journals are just like journals, except you can enter lines for multiple subsidiaries in one JE. So this leaves a really good audit trail if you've got, let's say you're transferring maybe even cash or equity from one subsidiary to another. And it's good to put them both on the same journal for your audit trail, because then you see how it's happening. You know, if you look at the journal, you see, oh, I took it from here and I put it over here. The first line of the journal, so this is especially helpful when you're importing them, that first line has to, the sub in the first line has to match the header sub. I know that's been a sticking point for people in the past when they're importing it. They put corporate in their header, but then the first line is one of the other subs, and then it fails. So you have to have that corporate on the top line of that import. Each subsidiary has to balance, so your debits and credits have to balance by subsidiary, but they don't necessarily have to have the same effect on one sub and another. So you could have $20 happening in one and 200 in another, and that's okay. It's just going to warn you when you go to save it, because it's going to say, hey, you realize that you've got more happening in one sub than another. And so I'm a big fan of these if you have multiple subs and you have transactions that are affecting both of them. I think it's a great audit trail. Let's see. So best practice for journals, of course, don't use them if you can use a standard transaction, because the audit, they'll always come in and they'll look at all your journal entries. They'll make you show, you know, that you had approval on them and where's your backup. They don't do that kind of review on things like invoices or, you know, standard transactions. So always use those if you can. Attach your documentation. We talked about that. We talked about using the intercompany. And then there's that notes area that you can add for other type of documentation. I'll pull this up again. I'm going to go into my recent records and pull up that journal. I don't know how many people are using this regularly, but if you're looking in, I believe it's in this one, you can do user notes on things and just put in a new note and say something like, this was approved via email on this date. You might attach the email, but you could make whatever notes you want here instead of doing it up in the memo. These memos can be printed out on the GL, but you could put extra notes down here that could be really helpful. All right, CPE question number 2. I should
And then
warn
there's a question in the chat, Dana. Maybe
you.
you look
Okay.
at it. Yeah. And then I'll pop up the CPE question number 2.
Okay.
All right, so the poll is open for CPE question number 2. So CPE question number 2 is open. About 15 seconds left for the CPE question. All right, last chance, CPE question number 2. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll now. And I'll share the results.
Okay, it was D. The bank account register is the only one that has that reconciliation field on it. If you're looking at registers for other accounts, there is no reconciliation field on them. Technically, you're right with B. If the transaction is not approved, it can never be reconciled. But that's just not what ChatGPT thought. So, all right. The question that you had in the chat was about an advanced intercompany journal entry has to have 4 lines. And that's true because you have to have at least 2 subsidiaries, and each subsidiary must have a debit and a credit, and they have to tie. So the, subsidiary 1 has to have a debit and credit with that balance. Subsidiary 2 also has to have that. But if you're trying to import that or enter one, and I'm not sure on the question if it, let's see, was it, no, not Brian, just a minute, it was Kelly. If you say the month before, JE works fine, but the new one, it sounds like possibly maybe it's a $0 amount on one of those lines, or they're not tying out between the lines. But you will have to have a debit and a credit for each subsidiary. I don't know if that answered your question. Do you want to unmute? Is that something that? And then, okay, I'm going to move to Brian's question. A long time ago, there was the intercompany journal was being deprecated. Okay. Oh, it's not letting you. Okay. And that now in favor of advanced, it's the same thing. I think they just renamed it. I do remember when that came out a long time ago, like you said, but as I look at it, I think all they did was they changed so that it's in the same journal entry table behind the scenes with a checkbox that says I'm an advanced intercompany. Because when you do save searches now, you can filter on is it an advanced intercompany? So it's going over the same journal entry table. I think initially they had a different table behind the scenes for that, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. That's my guess as to why they deprecated one and brought up the other, but it works the exact same way. The journal, from what I remember. Okay. Sure, Brian. Okay, memorize transactions. We talked about that for a minute. But so most transactions can be memorized. Look in the actions drop down while in the edit mode of the transaction. And there's 3 different ways that you can memorize them. Let me see. Yeah, okay, that's going to be a CPE question there next. Warning you there, Corey. Don't go get coffee. All right, so on the memorized transactions, I did one earlier with a bill. When you're memorizing a transaction, you can say that it's a, I'm going to edit here. There's 3 different types. So when I was in this bill, I said, well, I'm going to have to pay this bill every month It's just that it changes every month. So let's say it's some type of a loan amortization or something where you need to fix the interest on it every month, but you want to be reminded that you need to put this bill in and you need to update it with the correct information. So I made this one a reminder. I told it to repeat on the every month, next month, 7/15. And I said indefinite. Now, you can also put custom dates in if you need it to be that way. This will show you the transactions that have been created from this memorized transaction. You can also do an automatic one. That's if I just want this to go. I don't have to see it every month. I know I want this bill to come in every month. And so if you say automatic, it's going to shoot out and put those in as the day comes. Then you can also say template only, meaning I just did this super complicated journal entry. Let's say I had all these lines on it, or and I want to. I know I'm going to have to do that again, maybe the next time we have the same event or something like that. So you just want to save it as a template so that you can pull it up whenever you need it. That's when you would use the template only. Now for this one, I made it a reminder. And then I put it back on my dashboard where it'll tell me I have a transaction due. And so we're going to talk about reminders later, but this is it's a native NetSuite reminder is memorized transactions due. So you can come out here and then when you click on it, you can enter it. So I'm going to click on that reminder. And now if you click enter right here, it's going to just put that bill in with that date. And then it should pull it up so that you can review it. And this is when you would make your changes to the amounts that it, again, if it's automated, you're not going to look at it every month. But if it's like this, you can, so now it's about to generate it. You can check your due dates and all that. And it just pulled it all in from the other one. From the memorized one. So now I can say, yep, I like this, the date's correct. Notice that even though I said to do it on 7/15, it brought in today's date. So you may need to check that when you run a memorized one. Let me come back over here. Oh yeah, and when you're doing it from a journal, it'll just say journal in the name of the memorized transaction. If you're doing it from a bill, it's going to put the vendor name in as the name of the memorized. So be sure you give it a good name so that you can find it later, because you'll need to find it and stop it at some point, probably. So make sure you make it so you can find it. All right. CPE question time.
All right, let's get the third one up here. CP question number 3. All right, so the poll should be launched. I'll go ahead and read it. What is a best practice when entering a journal involving 2 subsidiaries?
Sorry, Corey, was I supposed to read it?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, not at all. That's
All
fine.
right.
I just figured why not?
Yeah, no, that's good. We have to fill the dead space.
Yeah.
Seems like this one is not as split. And just as a reminder for everybody, we do these because they're required for the CPE credit. And so apologies to those of you who are not getting CPE credit, but we are required to do 8 of them in the session.
All right, last chance for the CPE credit. Looks like we have about everybody that responded. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and share the results.
Yep, it was use an intercompany journal to keep them tied together.
Perfect.
All right. All right, now we're going to talk about amortizations. This, to me, is an area where you can really save a lot of time for yourself. If you're, especially if you're just dealing with your standard prepaids, right? You've got prepaids come in, you need to set up the deferral. You need to have a schedule for that because the audit comes along and they say, how come you have 100,000 in your prepaids account? What is that made up of? If you're using the amortization feature in NetSuite, then you can easily show them, here's what we prepaid, here's where it is in its schedule, here's what we have left on it. You can also get forecasts for how much you're going to amortize over a time. I think it's a great feature. And you can also use it for depreciation if you set it up properly. You will have to turn on the future periods. I just had this happen with the client where we didn't have them going out into 2035 or something, and it was a lease that went that long. And so it posted all of the oh, actually, this was a different, it's going to post it in the last open period. So actually it'll error if you try to save it. I was thinking of another one. If you import transactions into the future and they're out past your latest open period, it's actually going to put them into your current period. There is a setting that you can say closest open period, but the default is it's going to come into the current period. So let's see. The other best practice item on here is it's difficult to change an amortization schedule after you get it in there. You can do it, and I'll show you how to do that. But let's say you had a bill and then a vendor issued you a credit, but you already had that bill amortizing. You can amortize the vendor credit as well so that it then backs off part of that amortization. And so that preserves your historical data and the audit trail. So it keeps it all in there. And so there's no question of, what happened with this amortization. So again, best practice would be to enter the changes as their own amortization schedules. And so to set it up, I think what I'm going to do is not go through the slides on this. The slides are out there if you want to see them later. I'm going to show you in NetSuite so that we can look at this together. So the way you set it up is under lists, accounting. The first thing you have to do is set up your templates. And the templates can be done in two ways, two distinct ways. You can put your deferral account in there or not. And so I have one out here. Actually, I'm going to go back to the list of them. This is a non-specified deferral account. So what I did was I said, I want this to always be straight line. I want it to go exact days. So if I put in, the start date of this, end date of that, oh, this is actually a schedule, not the template list. Sorry. Well, we can look at this one in particular. So I'm going to go to the bill that I created this one off of so we can walk through how it figured out what to do. On my bill, I told it what expense account I wanted it to ultimately expense to, but then I put an amortization start and end date. And so because of that, I'm actually going to go to this account 8800. If we go to lists, accounting, accounts, on the account itself, 8800, I told it where to defer. Just a minute. Okay, so if you edit that account, you can see that there's this deferral account right here. So you could, in theory, put deferral accounts on any of your expense accounts. You could say, if I ever add an amortization schedule, this is where I want you to defer it. And so that's how it would know. And so in this case, that has its own deferral account. So when I set up the amortization, that's the one that I picked. I'm going to edit this and you can see that I picked the non-specified account one because I knew that this one pointed directly to where I wanted it to go. So as I entered this vendor bill, I picked the expense account I want it to go to, and then I picked the non-specified deferral account, and it's also straight line. And I knew that it went by day. So, which is an important distinction. So this is going to run, if we go back to that schedule, I'll just cancel out this edit. If you click on the schedule that it created, you'll see that it knows its start date, end date, and you'll see that it has different amounts. That's because the months have a different number of days. And I picked straight line using exact days. You can also say straight line by month. But if you do that, be careful, because if they put a start date and end date like this is going to be a 13-month amortization, because it's going to start in July and end in July. And so just be careful on your schedules. If you, so I'm going to go back to my templates. The templates are what you grab when you want to create the schedule. So here's a prepaid 12-month straight line. This one is going, we've told it, I want whatever I use this for, it's going to hit the prepaid expense. And I want it to be straight line by even periods. And in this case, they put a target account of expenses. You wouldn't need to do that if your bill, because your bill is going to have that on there. So this shouldn't probably be filled in. I didn't create this one, but you really just put a deferral account and how you want it to depreciate. And then that creates your template. Then you grab that template on the bill and it creates your schedules. So now we can go look at our schedules. This is going to show us, these are the 3 bills that have amortization out there. Here's what their original amount was. Here's their remaining deferred. Here's how much has been amortized. So you can get straight to that, that list of your schedules. Let's see, you can also, when you're on a schedule, there is, if I edit it, let's say we wanted, okay, I don't have the feature enabled. There's a feature you can enable that allows you to edit an amortization, which I've found really useful, because sometimes I want to maybe front load or back load it or make changes to it. Or let's say that this insurance, we canceled the policy. You could enter the cancellation and have it counter amortize against this one, or you could come in here and have it completely finish in April, right? Say I'm going to do the rest of it, and then you could do the credit against that insurance expense, so that you're backing out that expense. So under the enable features, I'll click on that. Can't remember exactly what it's called. 1 second. Didn't realize that I didn't have this turned on in here. But this was one of those hidden features that I didn't know it was even possible to change it. These demo accounts, they don't give them a lot of juice, so it's slow. Okay. It's probably not worth finding it. Okay, so there was a question, end date should be 13 months later if straight by even periods. So yeah, if you do straight by even periods, you have to make sure that I'm gonna get, here we go. Allow users to modify is a feature that you can enable here, and I'll show you in 1 second, Mariella. All right. So I'm gonna flip that switch. You can also pick when you want that amortization to post in your month. So I'm going to save that. Okay, so your question is about if you've got straight by even periods. If you go 8/1 to 7/31 and there are balances not amortized, that if it's straight line and you've got August of one year to July of the next year, and your amortization template is a straight line by even periods, you'll have 12, not 13 months. What I have seen people do is when they enter the bill, they say, well, this bill is from July 16th to July 15th of the next year. If this schedule that they picked happened to be straight line by even periods, then this is going to be a 13-month, because there's actually, it ignores the days and it just says I'm going July to July instead of July to June. If you've got some that haven't amortized all the way, that it might be that the schedule has a residual on it or something like that. So if I go to list accounting amortization templates new, you are able to front load, like put in an initial amount, have a residual. Yeah, okay, you're saying the due date of 8/1, so that the due date won't matter for the amortization. It's the dates that you have down on the line of the bill. Okay, I'm going to go back, make sure I've covered what I have on here. So you add your template. Then there's also this fixed asset template. I'm not going to do that together, but I wanted to show you what that looks like here, because it can be really helpful to set up your fixed assets. Here you give it a deferral account, but you also give it a contra and a target account. You say 36. The residual on this is your salvage value that you would want to leave in there. So however you want to set that up, I like the idea in accounting of set it and forget it. And so this allows you to, when you purchase that fixed asset, to set up the deferral. And then that also helps you with that reconciliation if someone comes to you and says, show me our schedules and what do we have left on our fixed assets, hopefully replacing all of those spreadsheets that you have on the side for managing your fixed assets. And I should say there are add-on products in NetSuite for managing fixed assets as well. This would be useful if you were if you didn't have a ton of them and it wasn't the main part of your business. But we've actually done, I think, Corey, didn't we do a fixed asset one where we talked about different methods inside NetSuite, creating a custom record to do it, or using NetSuite straight off the rack, or using an add-on product. There's lots of options for fixed assets.
I don't recall that, actually.
Okay.
Maybe
I
I think we talked about doing it, but
Oh,
we
okay.
may not have done it. Yeah.
Well, and it might have been even in just like a tips and tricks on fixed assets or something. I can't remember, but if there's interest in that, put it on your survey at the end so that we could. Oh, Roy thinks it was last year when FAM. That could be. Thank you, Roy. All right. I need to stop looking at chats because I get distracted. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is just walking through the, and then we didn't talk about running them at month end. So let me pull that over. There's a reminder for amortizations that are due. And we'll talk about that one later, but I don't have that in here now, but let's go to transactions, financial, create amortization journal entries. And you can do this multiple times in a month. I have one client where a bill might come in after they've already run their amortizations, and it's one that they need to amortize. Well, they can just come in here and do it again because it's not going to pick up the ones that you already did. And so you have to do it by subsidiary. And I'm trying to remember what that bill was in. And this is saying the posting period. So I'm going to go out. I don't even know. I think that was 22. Let's see. And then I'm going to say include prior periods, because that's an important one, because it'll show you ones that you missed in prior periods. Notice that we didn't get one when I just said 12/31, but when I said include prior periods, now I see them all, and they start in April of 2019. So now if I go back up and just run April, let's say it was April, right? But if you haven't run prior ones, you want to run them to catch up. And so now this is showing you that we've got 18 and 19. Someone didn't run them. I could run them all at once. They would all post into April, but it would do a catch up for you to get these prior amortizations done. You can filter at the top here. All you're doing is filtering what you're going to see below. This has nothing to do with making changes to the schedule. This is just saying, I want everything for my prepaid account or my insurance account or my fixed asset, or whatever. You could run them in separate batches. So in the dashboard, I think we could add, I'm going to go into my reminders. And again, we're going to talk about this later, but there should be an amortization entries pending. Yep. I'm going to drag it up to the headline so I see it better. And there it's got an amortization entry pending. Not sure why only one, because we just saw that there were quite a few. Oh, probably in the open period, there's only one. Anyway, that is one. I've also used a dashboard report to show me my open amortizations so that I can see what the oldest date is. So then I know if I've completed that task for the month, because the oldest date is in the next period. Then I know, oh, okay, I've finished June. I don't see any June amortizations in there. And that's just by adding a portlet for a saved search that shows what amortizations are coming. I think we found that useful. All right, let's see. And so we already looked at, you can review the schedule and it'll show you which journals have already run and which ones are still coming. And then there's the summary schedule. There's a native report to show the forecast, and you can also create a save search to show the amortized amount and remaining deferred balance to assist with your reconciliation. And I have that description in here, but I'm going to show you the native report. Here's the forecast summary. And I think I just have that one bill in there because I'm only running for that US West subsidiary. But if I view the detail, then it's going to give me more information. And also, if I change my columns to be accounting periods, now you'll see it running out, right? And we can change this to put it into the future. And so this would be a good report to show someone to say, yep, here's how we're amortizing everything. And back on that other page, it showed you what had already amortized. But this one will show you what's about to happen with it. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the forecast. It was that other transaction or lists accounting amortization schedules. This is the one that'll show you where they stand. It was originally 12. This is the remaining and the total amortized. Right. Oh, is there a report that shows history and forecast? That's a good question. I think the one that I'm defining, that I'm showing right here, let's see. Well, this shows, oops, sorry. This one will show you the remainder and how much is already done. And if you If you did do the search, you could ungroup this so that you would see all of the transactions. I don't think there's a native one that brings in the history and the forecast. Has anyone seen one? I'll just look for 1 second. If we go to reports, and it would be in the accounting or financial, down here is where you see the amortization forecast. Could be one of these. Let's see what this one gives us. Yeah, no, I don't think that's what we want. So I think you could do it with the Save Search. To your question about, is there a report that shows history and forecast? Because the amortization tables, it's its own table so you can do Save Searches directly over that, which would show you every schedule that's going to run. And so you should be able to pull that all into your one Save Search. You can tell that when you go into Report, Save Search New, you know how you can see all of the tables that you can run Save Searches over. And one of them is the amortizations. So I think it's pretty powerful. All right, we have another CPE. Oh, thank you, Karen. I'm going to show that after this question.
All right, CPE question number 4. I'll just read it. What is the benefit of setting a memorized transaction to reminder mode? All right, about 10 seconds left for the CPE question. Looks like most everybody's responded already. And I'll go ahead and end the poll.
All right, the answer is B. It appears on your dashboard as a to-do.
Okay.
All right, so Karen had a good answer for the forecast that we could try right now. So if I changed this, let's go back. This probably won't be well, because we've only run it. Have we run this amortization yet? I'm not sure. I don't think we have. Let me go back. I'm going to go run the amortization. So we'll go here, create amortization journal entries. I'll just run these because this will be April 19th. I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go back to that report because I think it's going to be really weird. It's going to throw it all into 1 month. Let me try just doing that forecast, and let's go all the way back to like 18. And well, we'll keep it in West. And then if you click on this more button, this is what Karen pointed out. You can say is recognized. Let's do, I did total. I should do accounting period. See what happens when we do this. So it looks like it's not giving us good stuff. I love test data. And I'm saying that, of course. See if the parent company has anything in it. Okay. Play around with that is recognized. Oh yeah, okay, yes, that. So let's see, because Karen wasn't sure if it's going to include them both in the same one, but I think that's a good thing to test with what you're looking at. Sorry, I don't have better data out here to be able to show that. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we got that. Let me go back here. Okay. Date versus period reporting. You can see we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but on this one, this is just an important thing for everybody to know about NetSuite. There is a setting in the analytics of your set preferences. I showed you the same page when we were looking at what bank account you want to be your default bank account. This is the same place. You change it here. Right here, report by period. So this is how it comes to you natively. It'll say financials only. You can do all reports or never. Now, what'll happen is you'll have maybe the accounting manager's got it set by period for financials only, but then maybe the AP clerk has it set to never. And then you run a balance sheet, both of them run a balance sheet, and they're not the same. And then I get the call that says NetSuite's broken. This is so stupid. How can it show me two different things? So the very first thing we look at is, are you reporting by period or are you reporting by date? Sometimes reporting by date is super helpful. Let's say, so I'm going to change this to never. Excuse me. Let me take a drink of water. I'll clarify. All right. So if we do reports, financial, if you were to do an income statement, sorry, reports, financial, income statement. Let's say you wanted to see one day's activity. You can't do that if you're reporting by period. It's especially helpful if you're trying to find a very specific transaction. So you've come into the detail, and let's say you've got 500 out here. You can change your date to say, I just want to look at the first of the month. And so that can be really helpful. It's also helpful for bank reconciliations and for AR and AP aging reports, because typically those are run by date. They pay attention to the date, not the period. Excuse me. Okay, so, and the reason this, I should have said from the start, in NetSuite, there's a date field and a period field on every transaction. Think of them as two completely different ways of slicing and dicing your data. The period will automatically default to the date of your transaction, but you can override it if you have that setting turned on. So I might put something in with a date of 6/30, but a period of July. So then if I'm running period reports, it's going to show up. If I'm running date reports, it'll be in June. So that's when the mismatch happens. I have clients who do it both ways, where they allow for mismatches because they need them. Mismatches are especially helpful if you've got adjusting entries at year end, where the auditor says you need to put this entry in. Well, you can have the period be December, but you could actually put the date back closer to whatever day you're trying to fix, right? And it would be more tied in with the transactions that it's related to, if it's actually related to some specific transaction. But just be really careful about, as you're running reports, recognize that, oh, I'm running it by date right now. I should be running it by period. Again, you go up to your set preferences, and in analytics, you flip this to either all financials only or never. Typically, it's set to financials only. This is especially important for bank reconciliations, because the bank reconciliations only care about the date of the transaction. They don't care about the period. And when you run a bank rec and it tells you what your balance should be in your GL, it's saying as of that date, not as of that period. And so if an auditor is looking at your bank rec and it says, oh, your bank balance on your book should be $100,000, and then you go run your balance sheet and it's not, the first thing you should do is change it so that you're looking at your balance sheet by date, and then verify that that balance actually matches. And you can then show the auditor, oh, it's because there's these two transactions that are date period mismatch, or, it helps you investigate it. But if you run it by date, it should always match your bank rec. And we're going to talk about bank recs after the break. So we'll look at that a little bit in more detail. But it's a feature of NetSuite. You can just turn it off and say, I always want my period to match my date. And then everything I just said doesn't matter. So up to you on how you want to handle that. Actually, I did say, I hope you got coffee, because bank recs, they're super fun. It's an amazing topic that we're going to have so much fun with. But we're going to focus on this for at least 20 minutes, I think. This is kind of a big one because there's different ways to do it in NetSuite. I've got a bunch of slides, but I'm mostly just going to focus on NetSuite. So I want you to know the slides are out there, that you can look at them later and get some reminders. But I'd rather just show it to you in NetSuite as we go. So bank recs, there's two ways to reconcile bank accounts in NetSuite. You have the legacy way, which is deprecated, but so far they're still letting us use it. And so you're going to get a little flash warning that it's deprecated, but they want you to use the matching. And in most cases, that is the better one to use. But occasionally I like to go back and use the legacy one, and we'll talk about why you might use both for some accounts. And so and then here I have a list of ways that you can get your bank data in for the matching. And I think one of these just got deprecated, and I'm not even sure which one. And so I'm not going to go into that in detail today. I am going to show you how you could manually upload it if you don't have your bank connected. But let's talk about that more as we look at the matching way. So I'm going to pull up NetSuite. And how does NetSuite know which way you're going to reconcile your bank account? It's on the account itself. On the bank account, this isn't a bank account, so we'll go to list, and it's right on the account itself. You check a box to say, do I want to use matching or not? And when you set up a new bank account in NetSuite, it'll automatically be checked. And so you'd have to go back and uncheck it if you want to do it the legacy way, the deprecated way. So this use match bank data is what dictates which dropdown it'll show up on if you do transactions bank. So if I say reconcile bank statement, this one 1010 will not show because it has that box checked. So you'll notice 1010 is not here. That's because that box is checked, and you would have to do your reconciliation using the bottom half of the match down here, reconcile account statement. It's going to show up there because it's the only one that's marked to match. All right. So that's just that first difference, is that checkbox. Now you can uncheck that box, but you can't do it if you've already started a match and you have things in the matched but not submitted state. And so we'll talk about that in a minute. But so you can toggle that back and forth, but it won't let you do it if you're halfway through a reconciliation the match way. It won't let you change it back. So if we talk about legacy for a minute, what are the pros and cons of that? It's easy to check the boxes. You don't have to import your bank statement. So for low volume accounts, this might be a good way to do it. It's very forgiving. You can easily go back and fix a reconciliation. So you can actually pull up old ones and update them without deleting them. So it's super forgiving. You can add transactions on the fly while you're in it. It has good reporting, and the mark all buttons are available, which is, I think, a huge pro for the legacy ones. The cons are it's manual. You have no import function. And I'll pull one up to show you while we're going through these. If we say reconcile bank statement, and then we pick up an account that maybe has some. See, this is that warning that you're going to get every time, but they so far haven't taken it away. So I'm going to keep using it. Again, I only use it in certain instances when it makes sense. So this mark all is really important if you've had to switch back and forth between them, and you've got a whole bunch of cleared transactions. You can do mark all cleared to reconciled, or you can say mark all, and you can't do that in the other one. So for example, when you first start using NetSuite and you've brought in a bunch of transactions and you just want to do your first reconciliation, I recommend the first one you do it using this old way, because then you can just mark all and then uncheck the ones that are still open instead of trying to do it in the other screen. There's no automated rules in here to create transactions. So that is a con of using this one. It lets you save with a difference, which can be a problem, obviously, but sometimes you need to save with a difference if you've saved a prior one with a difference. So that's another reason to use the legacy, is to clean up bad recs from the past. And so now we're going to talk about the steps of how to reconcile using the legacy. So we are in here. You've got, you put in your statement date. You can put a start date if you're trying to limit what you're looking at. I don't recommend it because you may have old transactions that aren't reconciled that you need to reconcile. So if you have been consistently reconciling an account, don't put a start date in, because then it'll pull all the old data, and you'll see that, oh, I've got things open from last year. I've got checks that are past their whatever 6 months. They're never going to get cashed. I'm going to go ahead and void those. You want to see the old stuff out there so you can keep it clean. And then you put in your ending statement balance, and then it does the math for you to say, how close are you to being reconciled. Now, so this has your deposits and credits. Another pro on this is if you're doing this the old-fashioned way and you're checking boxes, you can look at this total right here and compare it to your bank statement, where it tells you the totals of your deposits and credits. So you can see if you're off, you can see where you're off, because you can look at these totals. So same in this checks and payments. One thing to note, you can resort it. If you've already started checking boxes and then you resort it, you're going to lose it. So be sure that you sort it the way you want to sort it before you start checking boxes. If you sort it one way, you check some boxes, and you want to sort it another way, go ahead and say complete later, come back into it, and then you can sort and start checking boxes again. If you're checking a lot of boxes, you probably shouldn't be using this method, just because it is tedious. But if you've got a low volume account, you don't want to have to import your transactions, then this is a super easy way to do it. You can add new charges and new deposits right here. So let's say the bank charge came in, you can just enter it right here. You didn't know about that until you got your statement. You can enter it right here, classify it. Does not work very well if you have custom segments, because you can't change what's on the screen for the new charges. So let's say you had a custom segment of channel and you wanted to enter it here, you wouldn't be able to. So then you'd have to go out and make your entry outside of the bank rec, and then come back in, and it would be there for you to clear it. So same with the deposits, you can do either one of those. So you're checking which ones are on your statement, and at the end of the day, you see, do I have a difference of 0? And then you save it. If you try to save it with a difference, it's going to give you a warning, but it's going to let you do it. And so, so that's like I said, a good thing and a bad thing. If you hit save, it thinks you're done, and this is going to show up as a reconciled bank statement. It's going to be in the report list to show that you've finished it. But if you say complete later, it's not going to show up as completed yet. So if you're working on this mid-month and you're trying to keep up with it, use complete later, because then it's not going to stand out as a bad reconciliation, because it'll probably have a difference throughout the month. You don't know your ending statement balance. So just say complete later. If you hit refresh, it's going to replace what you've done. So be careful with that too. Let's see. I'm looking at my slides to make sure I've covered everything. Like I said, you can sort by the date or the amount or the transaction. One of my favorite buttons on this screen is the history button. And often I'll come in here. There's a way to get to it through the match also, but it always comes up with the current month, which I think is dumb, because if you want history, I want to see all of it. So I usually just change it to an old date and then see what's out here. So this is a really valuable report. And this is why, if you have a difference, let's say I didn't have this fix right here, my balance sheet will not tie to the bank account, because that's what this is showing, is that you have a difference between your balance sheet and what the statement said. And I've seen it time and time again where someone doesn't know that they had a difference in the past. Maybe they're a new accountant and they come in and they can't figure out why their balance sheet doesn't tie out to their statement. And it's because there's been a difference in the past. Now, you can either fix it in that old one. Remember that bank recs don't have a GL impact. So I could go and fix it in this old one, and because it's probably a transaction that got unreconciled, I can just edit this one and go check the box, and then I'm good to go. But if it means you have to put in a new transaction in order for you to fix it, then you're going to have to do it in an open period like this one, where I made it a reversed difference. So now the net difference is 0. I wish they had a total right down here, because then you would easily be able to see. I've had clients that have had historical differences, and you can't just total it in your head like this one. If that's the case, then pop this out to Excel, add a sum on this column, and now you'll see, am I good to go? Am I clear? And so it's one of the first things I'll look at with the client on how are their bank recs. We'll come out to this history report and see if everything looks good. The other okay, so that's your legacy. Like I said, you can go in and edit them. If I click on this, I'm going to see the detail of the report. And this is helpful if you're trying to see what was still open. In this case, everything was closed, so it wasn't, we didn't have an issue. Nothing was left open on this one. All right, so that's your legacy bank. Pretty simple to use and very easy to go back and fix stuff. All right, now we're going to talk about the matching bank. So that's under this top section. I'm sorry, bottom section. You've got it where you import your bank data, then you match it, then you reconcile your account. I have no idea why they put them in this order, because it's usually this order. You match and then you reconcile. You can have rules, reconciliation rules, that would then match your bank data based on the rules that you set. You can also create transactions, auto-generate transactions using the match bank data. For example, bank fees every month that comes in, it looks the same. Go ahead and enter that as a charge every month for me. So you can save time by doing it that way. So to start, let's talk about, so the pros, it's faster. The match rules allow you to auto match. You don't have to look at your statement and find every single line. You know when you're done because you're moving things into a reconciled state. And so it's easier to see what's going on. You can add those transactions on the fly or set up a rule. It has good reporting, just like the legacy. And it doesn't allow you to save with the difference. So it's going to force you to have a reconciled account. It's not as easy. You have to submit your matches and then reconcile. It's not as forgiving. You have to delete the reconciliation to make any updates. And the mark all is not available, which I really miss in the match. So the first thing you have to do is upload your file. And so if I go here and look at banking import history, I can see what I've already done. And again, I'm going to pull this up. I don't think any of this is set up. There's some bank feed applications that you can use. There's several of them. And you can see I did a manual one yesterday or a couple days ago. But most of my clients have connected this with their bank, similar to QuickBooks, where every day it sends over all of their transactions. And so there's different ways of doing that. And like I said, it's pretty complicated. I don't want to get into it today, but I did want to show you how to do it manually, because that might be where you start to see if you like it. So if you come down here to bank import history, upload file, if you select the, and this is where there's that connectivity plugin to do it that way also. But if you select this import with the default parser, right here is a CSV template that you can open up. And this shows you all you need for your bank statement import. And so you can, if you wanted to export your data from your bank, if you didn't have it set up automatically, like I said, maybe this is a good way to start. This is all the file all you need, all the data you need. And just keep in mind, even these are all optional, and memo too. So basically you just need the transaction, the date, the transaction ID, and you can make this stuff up. And so I did do one, let's see. Oh no. I just pulled up this one. So that's how I imported these. I just used the import for this bank account. And so, and as we saw, you can go to the history and see what's been imported. Did it fail? How are we doing? So now the next step after you've imported that is you're going to go to match bank data. And also I'm going to caveat back at the home screen, this bank rec summary portlet is related to the match bank data. So do you see this items to match over here? That if I just click on that 184, it's going to take me straight into the match bank data area of that account. So I'm going to click on that 184. And so if this is part of your daily life that you have to reconcile your bank accounts, you have enough transactions that you like to go in there every day and keep up so that you can speed up your close, this is a great way to do it. You click on that match bank data. And now what it's showing you is on the left side, this is what we imported. And all I did was I took the GL and I imported it so that it matched. But the reason it didn't, and then I added a couple transactions like the bank fee. The reason it didn't match automatically is because this is called a deposit and this is called a payment. These payments are customer payments. And when I imported it, I called it a deposit, and that's why they didn't tie out. If you had done this through a bank import feed, it would have tied out properly. I think I just named them incorrectly on my import, and that's why they didn't match. You can see that a bunch of them did match. So if I look at this review, this is going to show me, oh, you know what? I bet they're already submitted. I have already submitted them. That's why they're not here. So I'm going to go back to be matched, and I'll show you what it would look like. So again, you can sort by amount. if I want to. So I might say, okay, I'm going to go by amount. You can flip it smallest, however you want to do that. You can also drag these fields, which I think is really helpful, because if I'm going to be comparing them, and I might drag the box to the middle too, because now I can get them lined up and I can check the boxes. And so now all you're doing, this is what's in NetSuite over here, and this is what's in your bank. And then you just check your boxes. Now, one thing, if I do these together and I say, oh, I'm just going to match, I'm going to match a bunch of them all together at one time. Then if you come down here, you'll see in the bottom that it has a difference of 0. It lists the transactions that you highlighted, and then you say match. You don't want to do 20 or 30 at a time, because if you have to unmatch that because you have to make a change, it's going to unmatch all of them, and then you have to rematch them again. So I usually do a handful at a time if I'm manually matching like this. Notice that once I checked that, they came off this list, and now they're in the review list. You can unmatch them from here by clicking on that and undoing the match, and then they're going to go back onto this screen. You can exclude every once in a while, not very often, but you might get a duplicate from the bank, or for some reason you don't want that bank transaction to go through into your reconciliation. It's some kind of error, and I have rarely done it. It's usually if there's been like a duplicate import. Usually NetSuite catches the duplicate imports, but you could check a box and say, I want to exclude this one. Instead of match down at the bottom, you say exclude. You can also clear something on the right if it doesn't have a match in the bank, but you really need it to go in. You can come here and you can say clear. So even if you didn't import your data, you could still use this and just hit clear, and it would go in into your reconciliation. So that would be, if you never wanted to use the legacy way, you could do it this way just by clicking on clear. So once you've matched everything and the left side is done, because remember, you need to account for everything that's in your bank. So once the left side is empty, you know that you're done with your reconciliation. You click submit, and it takes everything that you reviewed and it sends it into the reconciliation. So now, and I'm sorry, I should have said you can run your reconciliation rules when you first get that set up so that it'll do the matching for you. It'll also create transactions. So I didn't show you that one. Let me click on this bank fee. Let's say I wanted to add this transaction. If I add it as a charge, you can pick your bank. I'm just gonna pick anything. I'm gonna pick my my bank fees account. I'm gonna add it. So this is how you would add it, similar to the legacy. And then it's going to put it, oh, it wants a location. Let's see. Do this again. I think the location might be required. And that's why it, but if I remember right, see if it does it now. Oh. It doesn't like that account, maybe because it's not part of this location. Again, I love, let's pretend that this worked, and you'd say add, it would show up down here. And if you check this little box to say make auto create rule from selected transaction, you could then set it to say anytime the memo says bank fee, I want you to make a transaction like this. But I want you to be real careful with it, because if you don't set really good limits on or filters for that, you could end up creating transactions that you don't want created. And it used to be, I was so excited, it used to be this checkbox automatically got checked every time you tried to create a new transaction. So, and then it would just start creating random transactions for you. It was very scary. Now it doesn't. If I go to transactions bank reconciliation rules, let's just take a look at what that looks like. This is where you can tell it how you want your matches to work. And so this is the match. I want it to match. I sometimes uncheck that 90 previous days because I feel like that's a pretty broad stretch. I do want to know if it's going to match on the transaction number and amount. So that would be like check number and amount. Down here, these are the ones to create where you can say for this bank account, I want you to create a transaction of this kind. And these are the rules around creating them. So actually that says match, but so you can run those reconciliation rules. I want to come back to here. This is once you've submitted it, you can go to reconcile the account statement. That reconcile up here is the same one that you see under transactions bank reconcile account statement. Now it's going to bring up, this is the last step in reconciling. You have the account number, you put in your statement balance, and then typically all of these will be checked. I unchecked them because I was trying to create a reconciliation for a specific period. But if you look in review, this is showing you everything that got matched and submitted. And this is where you can say, oh, I need to unmatch it and go back and work on it some more. But in this reconcile, typically all these boxes are checked because you've already brought it in from a match. So in this case, you can do a mark all right here. And then you can say, okay, I want to reconcile it. You put your statement ending date and your ending statement balance. What right now, because I hit that submit button, I could go change this back and finish this reconciliation the old fashioned way, and then come back in and mark the box again. And if reconciliations go sideways, that's what I usually end up doing. And so, so it's a more steps in this process, but if you've got a lot of volume, it's definitely worth doing it this way. All right, I'm making sure I wanted, okay, I talked about that. Okay, the next topic, I'm gonna go ahead and I can bring, you can see I really did have slides. Okay, reconciling different types of accounts. NetSuite doesn't have a way of reconciling accounts natively that are not bank accounts because they don't have that checkbox on them to clear, and they don't have a reconciliation. But this is just a description of, if you wanted to, you could create a custom checkbox and date field on the transaction columns to say that they're reconciled. And then you could use a saved search to check those boxes and to show, okay, yes, I reconciled this. And I could see this being done on other balance sheet accounts as part of your month end close, that you would say, well, I want to reconcile my prepaids, or I want to reconcile this liability account, and you want to show that you've looked at that and reconciled it. So this could be a way to do a reconciliation outside of the bank recs. I haven't done this, and so this is just something that I had considered once when someone was talking about, their month-end close and how they reconcile their accounts. But I think it would be an interesting way to, if you don't have a product that is helping you close your books like Flowcast or something like that, then it could be a good help. All right. AR and AP aging. So I just wanted to mention on the bottom of those, there are options. And so I think I'm going to bring my NetSuite back over just to show you. So if I go to reports, where did it go? Customers. And if I do an AR aging report, keep in mind that this is going to age as of today. If you have it set that way, or you can put whatever date you want. This is one of the few places in NetSuite where you can recreate history. So if the auditor comes and says, show me your AR as of 12/31/24, you can do that. And it will know that, oh, that payment came in after that. So that was still open, and it's going to do it for you properly. So you can give it an as of date, but sometimes people don't notice these aging options. And this is where you can age it as of today. So if you're doing an as of here, you'd probably want to age it as of that day also. But you could change that and make it a different day, meaning the buckets are created off of a different age. You can base it on the transaction date or the due date, depending on how you want to look at it. And then you can say 3 bands of 30 days, or you could do irregular and add new bands. And then you can put their length in days. So you might say 31, 30, 31, if you really wanted a pretty report where it had the months exactly right in here. Does that make sense? Because the buckets are always going to be days. They're never going to be a perfect month. But let's say you wanted to make a really pretty report, depending on your age as of 12/31, then you could know, okay, the first band should be 31 days, the second 28, et cetera. So you can add irregular bands on that. When you're in here and you click through to the detailed report, let's see, it's going to show you only the open transactions for that detail. So it's not going to show you everything that has happened inside that customer. It's going to show you what's creating the balance you just looked at. And so if you need to see all the ins and outs, there's some other reports under the customer. You can do an AR register will show you everything that came in and out for a client. You can also look at the payment history by invoice. If you're trying to figure out what payments have we applied to a certain invoice, and then the same, I have this payment, what did I apply it to? So keep in mind that you have these other reports out here that can be really helpful. And I'll say it again, that this the date that you do down below, this should tie to your balance sheet AR balance if you pick the end of the month and you're looking at a balance sheet as of the end of the month, unless you have date period mismatches. If so, then you want to come in and run this report by period or run your balance sheet by date so that the two match. That's exactly the same for the AP. So everything I showed you here applies to the AP. All right. I'm gonna go back this over. Okay, CPE question 6.
Okay, let's go ahead and pop that up. Number 6. And the question is, what is one advantage of using the legacy bank rec method? CPE question is up. Dana, there were a couple of questions in the chat. I'm not sure if you covered them, but
I'll
maybe
check.
just review.
Yeah. I tried not to look at it because I find I get really distracted. So, nobody wants me to. All right.
It's about 10 seconds left for the CPE question. If you're interested in CPEs, you got to answer the questions. All right, I'm gonna end the poll.
Okay, and the answer is C. It's forgiving and easy to edit reconciliations. You don't have to delete them. You can just edit them. You can save with the difference if you're trying to fix the past. So,
All right.
okay. I'm going to answer those questions. So Tiffany, hi Tiffany. You asked about on the next page, when you complete the bank rec after submitting, is there a way to filter by date when the transaction cleared? Sometimes in larger recons can go to the next month. All right, so let's just go look at that. Reconcile account statement. We may have to put this into the open forum at the end if I can't answer it really quickly. You want to filter by date. You can, of course, the last poll question answer was C. You can sort by date, and then over here, you've got multiple pages, right? From here, I think you could say, I only want 10/20, 2022. Let's try this. I think this filter would give you, it's the date of the transaction, not the date it cleared, just so you know. So I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for. The date it cleared yeah, I don't know where that would be, because this is actually just the NetSuite transaction, not saying when it came into the bank. If you're back at the bank, when you're going into doing the match bank data, absolutely you can sort by cleared, because at the top of that screen, you can change this date up here to filter your bank, what you're looking at. But to your point, I think I'm not answering your question, because here when you're in the review, it's only going to show you the date of the transaction, not the date that it was cleared. So sorry if that's probably not helpful. So, and then I think it's Mariella asked about items left from an old account not reconciled. What can be done here? If your current bank, if the statements are reconciling now, you should be able to go in and put an old reconciliation date in and just check all the boxes, or check all the old stuff in the current reconciliation just to clear them out, because everything in the account should be reconciled. When you say if it's an old account, I guess the timing doesn't matter on a reconciliation. If your bank statement matches what's sitting on your balance sheet, with the exception of unclear transactions that you know about, then you should just be able to say mark all and reconcile an old account. And if it doesn't match, you need to put in a transaction to get it to match your balance sheet. So if you've inherited an account that's never been reconciled and the two don't match, you really do need to put in a transaction to get it to match, so that you do have a reconciliation and that your net reconciliation differences are zero. Otherwise, your balance sheet is not right. So, okay. All right. The next thing we're going to talk about is managing accounting periods. Some of you are closing periods for your company. Just want to talk a little bit about that. When you come down here and say manage accounting periods, you see all of your accounting periods. It's easy to set up a full year. You can just say, I need to add a new year. Let's say you're amortizing into the future. So we've only got through 26 in here. So I'm going to say set up a full year. And I want to do 2027, start in January. You can do this 1 day year-end adjusting period, which means that your period will be December 1st through the 30th, and then the adjusting period is December 31st, if you want to. I don't like it because it adds another period to my account, my month-over-month type reports. I just have never liked that, but you can absolutely do it. You can do a split period. Let's say you sold, there was a major transaction where you mid-January something happened. You could have January 1st to the 15th and January 16th to the 31st. You can do things like that. This is the checklist for closing. It takes you through everything that you need to do during the close. Review negative inventory. Not everybody has all of these. If you don't have foreign transactions, you won't have this. If you don't have inventory, you're not going to have that. It's going to show you your date period mismatches, which is really important to look at to make sure they're intentional, not accidental. So you step through each of these. Now, if you have to open prior periods because you need to fix something, you can jump back and say, I'm going to open all the way back to January. I can't keep the rest of these closed and only open January, but I could open January. It's going to open everything after it. And then I'm going to close multiple periods. I'm not going to go through and close each one of these. I'm going to say close multiple periods, and I can jump all the way up to the date that I want to close it. So I can quickly reclose all those periods. And it won't take you through all those steps though. I wouldn't recommend doing this every month where you just close without looking at those steps, because those steps are important to get through. You can, as you can see here, you can also lock periods without closing. So only certain people, if they have the permission to make changes in a locked period. So you can like kick everybody out of the system and say, I'm just going to finish up the last part of my close. And then, so you lock everybody out. This allow non-GL changes. I usually check this and say that I want to allow non-GL changes. And to do that, you click on the month header here and you check this box and say, I want people to like add a memo to a transaction, something that doesn't change the GL. I want them to be able to do. Now, if you don't, there's a setting in the setup where you can say automatically check that when you create new periods. And I usually change that right away on the accounts I'm working with, because we want to show that we would like to allow the changes. Then I don't have to go in every time I create a new period and add that checkbox. And Laura, there is not a way to customize the close checklist. If there are things you need to skip, often you can just click on it and then say, yeah, I did it, even if you didn't do it, and then go back and do it. But you can't change what's on there other than disabling features of the system. If you disabled those features, then maybe they wouldn't show up. But unfortunately, I think it would be nice if you could add different ones, or probably not skip them though. I don't know the answer to that one either, Brian, why this one is expanded. It's probably going to take you to the one that's not closed. And so, nope. Yeah, I don't know why some of them are expanded and collapsed. That's a good question. Someone else. There is not another place to do the add allow non-GL changes when you say you don't have so I wonder if you don't have all of the, so when you click on the period, Heidi, you don't see allow non-GL changes, that little box down there.
Isn't there a global setting though?
Well,
that
there's a global setting to make it checked in the future. Yeah,
automatically, right?
automatically, which I always turn on. But
Yeah.
I don't know how, and even if you turn it on, you still have to go and do this for every single one that you had already created. I don't know of a way to globally update them. Yeah, so to that point, Roy said to make sure that you set it up. Oh, good, Heidi found it. Okay, so that's the periods and locked periods. And so yes, Melody, that's for making changes on AP memo line and stuff like that. Yep, it's anything that doesn't have a GL effect. It lets people do it. Okay, so that is all about the period close. And I'll just say it one more time. There's a permission on your role that allows you to make changes or not in a locked period. So make sure that, for example, you might have your AR clerks not have that permission. And so they do all their work, they finish up their AR, they say, yeah, I'm done with AR. So then whoever's in charge of closing the month, they go lock AR. Then they know nothing can change in there because nobody can make changes unless they have that very special permission. So if you limit that permission, then it helps you with your month end close because you know things aren't going to happen that you don't know about. So, all right. I have like 4 more topics and I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to try to go through these pretty quickly. One of them is a general ledger search. I just wanted to show it to you because it's a common question. When the auditors come, they think trial balance and they say, I want to see your trial balance and I want to see your general ledger. And then your general ledger is so huge that it's too big and you can't email it to them or whatever you're trying to do. So I often create like a general ledger search, and it's just a transaction search that you filter by account date. You can also filter by other classes, but it just has all of the information on that line of the transaction. And in the slides, I have the search criteria. But I found this is useful because then you can quickly get an auditor what they need to see and it's in a flat file, so they can load it into whatever they're working on, and it shows you everything. It's also a good way to isolate if you want to see, like by class, I want to see what's going on in this account. You could also change your accounts to account type if you wanted to filter on that. So that's been useful in the past. Another thing I wanted to show you under the reports area, if you go into your saved searches, there's this persist right here, persist results. You can click on that and see because if you're running a report and it's too long, it's taking too long to render, it'll give you an email that says it'll email it to you, or you can come out here and look at the results of that search. So let's see what happens. I'm not sure if it'll do it. Okay, so this one, I just kicked it off. And so it's going to be in there, but once it's done, then you can download it from here. And so you can see that I also ran this on the 14th. I picked the same one, and now it's running again. And if I hit F5, it should be done. And now you can download it. So this is a great way to kick off a search that's a really long one and have it out here so that you can find it. You don't have to stay on the page. And then it'll be pending, completed, timeout, or failed, depending on how it goes. All right, and the results will be available for 7 days. So there you go. And I'm sure know that like with a report, you can have it so that it emails it to you instead of having you sit there and wait, which is always nice. And Suzanne, I put the GL search in the slide deck. I put the parameters of that. It's just a transaction saved search. So we'll get that to you. Oh, thanks, Corey. Okay. Another thing that, we were just talking about opening up the periods. Let's say we go back because we have to make a change. Often then you're working and you say, okay, good, I fixed that one thing and now I've closed the periods, and then you go run your financials and they're different. Let's say it was last February, something now when you compare, which is everybody's nightmare, right? If you're trying to close your books and now there's a change and you don't know what it is. So I have a couple ways of showing what's been added or what's been changed. I'm going to bring up my slide deck because here's the general ledger search. You can see how I put that in there. And then, okay, what's been added. So what I wanted to point out is that there's system notes on transactions. And if you filter for the type, in this case, I'm saying what's been added. So I say, I want to filter for system notes type create. and the date is on or after whatever that moment was. So let's say it was, I just opened my books today. I want to see anything that was on or after today, but the period was last fiscal year. Then you're able to isolate what transactions came in after that time. You can also do what's been changed. It's not quite as easy. I have two ways. This one is a transaction search that's showing periods last fiscal year, but the type is change. What I didn't put on here is I should have put the field for the system note was the impact field, because you could have changed something that didn't have a GL impact. This is going to show you everything that got changed regardless of impact. But if I filter for the system note field of impact, then I'm going to get those. And I have that on the next one. This is the filter. I'm showing you a picture of the system information of a journal entry that I changed. Okay, so when you're doing these saved searches, you're looking at the date of the system note, and then who did it, what was it. Well, this was a change, and if it changes the GL impact, the field list is impact, and then you can view the old or the new. So if you're looking at a transaction and you want to see what's changed on it, go in and look at the system notes, and then you can click this view link and it's going to show you the GL impact before the change. And then you click this view link and it's going to show you after the change. Now, that's just on one, but you can also do, the changes to the GL. So this is my saved search. Now I'm seeing 2 rows because that journal had 2 lines on it. But what if there were 12 different things that changed? Now I would see them all in one place and I could go view them. Now, the downside of this is you have to actually look at the GL impact of the old value and the new value. This one that I did before, this is going to show you your what's been changed, and you could get a report of the new value, right? And then you could be looking at your old report and say, oh, fixed assets used to say this, now it says this. And you could see where your changes were and then drill into them and figure out who changed it. But system notes are a great tool to identify who made the change, what context were they in, and what did they change. So you can find out what's going on and isolate what you need to find. Okay, hold on. We're almost out of time, so I'm going to hop to the CPE question 7.
Okay. CPE question number 7. Let's pop that one up. Why is it important to open accounting periods far in advance? CPE question is on the screen. So again, we record and post all of these meetings and the slides on our website. It'll take about a week or so for all of that to be posted. And then you can review the slides and the presentation from there. If you want to get notified, go to our LinkedIn forum and make sure you're signed up there. That way you'll know when they're available. So about 10-15 seconds left for a CPE question. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And the answer is?
The answer is B. Although A, you could make a point, you could put in adjusting entries into future periods if you did it. That is not a wrong answer.
That's true.
Not the one we were looking for. So, so Corey, I've got, I have this whole reporting tricks section, but that could take some time. So I think I'm going to skip that one.
Okay.
I will just do a tip and trick on reporting on a hierarchy. And then I was going to talk about reminders. And so we might go for another maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Is that okay?
Yep, that's fine. And then we'll have another CPE question to wrap it up.
Yep. Yep. I'll try to go fast and make it relevant. Okay. Let's see. Here's reporting tricks, but we're going to talk about reporting in January. So and in a prior version of this, I have gone into that. This is my little tip and trick on reporting on a hierarchy. When you go to run, sometimes when you go to filter your reports and do mostly on saved searches, actually, you're trying to get that top level parent, but you can see in my subsidiary hierarchy, do you see how it goes down? If I'm trying to find, I can do top level parent for this one and say, I just want the, actually it would be global consolidation, unfortunately, if you did top level. But what I'm doing here is I'm saying all of these are part of company consolidation 1. These are part of 2. So that when I go to run a report or a saved search, I can just filter for 1 or 2. And this might not be a great example for you, but we've used it for customers when they're stacked and you want to do a filter. We just do a custom record field and throw that on there so that it helps you kind of flatten the hierarchy at a certain level so that you can report better. So just little tip and trick up your sleeve. Okay. Reminders, one of my favorite things in NetSuite. So I'll end on this today. They're a powerful way to set you up for success because you can set them up to tell you when you're required to act, like I've got a memorized transaction to do, or when something gets entered incorrectly, you can filter for that and say, hey, I should never have this happen where it's this class and this department, or this account and this department, or something like that. Now, some of those you can lock out permanently, but sometimes you just want to know when it happens to review it. So it's a great tool for keeping data clean because you just create these saved searches that look for things in the system that need action. You need to look at them, review them. You can create reminders for tasks that are due. You can make them headline with colors so that you look at, they're very bright and they show you exactly what needs attention. You can also review data for approvals instead of using a workflow. How workflows will send an email, but you could also set that up to be on your dashboard. Or there are times when you would like something to post, but you want someone to review it after it posts and put a little checkbox on it to say that they reviewed it. So you don't want to stop something from happening, but you want someone to review it. You could use a reminder for that. So I'm going to pull NetSuite back up and over just to show you a few reminders on the dashboard. Where did it go? Sorry. It's not letting me grab it. Here we go. So I just put a couple out here. One of them, in order to do this, you can use the setup button and you can select whichever ones you want. The ones with the little green C in front of them, those are custom. So those are saved searches where you check the box on the search to say, I want to be a reminder search. And then it'll show up in this list. And then you drag them over here. You either put them as a headline, like these big ones, or a smaller one down here. You can also say show reminders with 0 results, and then you'll see that it's 0. So now I'm going to get 5 reminders instead of 4. And then you can save that. And then, so this could be your day, right? You could say, oh, okay, these are my reminders for what I have to do today. I added a reminder for, are we ever hitting a prepaid account without an amortization schedule? Because we need a schedule, otherwise it's just going to sit in prepaids forever. So I did a save search that said, tell me if there's a bill, and it hits the prepaid accounts, but it doesn't have an amortization schedule. And so that then helps me keep that clean because I see, oh, look, I hit prepaids. I should have hit an expense and picked an amortization schedule. And so then I can fix it And then after I fix it, I can go back to my dashboard and it'll go away. And those are my favorite kinds of reminders, are not just when the number stays out there forever and grows, but rather you work it down to 0 and then it's a to-do list and you know that you're done. So I have a memorized transaction I need to put in. I need to run an amortization. I need to fix a bill that doesn't have one. And by the way, I require departments. Why are there 50 transactions out there without a department? Let's go look at it. Let's talk to the people who are entering them and get those fixed. So this is data, keeping data clean. And the rest of this is processing. So you can put all kinds out here. I just think they're really powerful. And so I recommend that you do that. The way that you do it, let me just show you. I noticed that it came up directly when I did that to the bill, and that's a preference. This is a side light, but I'm going to show you the preference because I don't like it when it does that. It's, I think, in appearance. Corey, where is that again? Analytics. Here we go. Show list when only one result. I like to have that checked. So it's under analytics and set preferences, because now if I go back to my dashboard and I click on that one amortization schedule missing, it's going to show me the list. It's not taking me straight to the bill, because this is what I wanted to get to, was the list. And now I can edit the bill and fix it. But that's just a personal preference that you can flip back and forth. But I'll just show you my Save Search. The way to get them to be on your dashboard is to check this little box, if this would come up. Okay, it's right here, available for reminders. That's the key, that you have to check that box in order for this search to come up. So I always say, is it posting? And then the amortization internal ID is none. And then the accounts, I picked my accounts and I said it was a bill. So anyway, that's your plug, my annual plug for using the reminders box. All right, we did it.